I'm not so sure about this one. Okay, I'm not so sure about this one. I am going in with an open mind about the new Natasha Denona Hyper Natural Face Palette, but I already have some thoughts just by opening up, looking at it, swatching it. But today I am going to start off with some close-ups, some swatches of this new face palette from Natasha Denona, as well as some information about the palette. Then I will show you 2 different looks, and at the end I will give you my initial thoughts. Now, just keep in mind this is not a review, okay? I have to use this several times before I get my full thoughts, but I do at least want to create a couple looks if you A, bought the palette, or B, are thinking about the palette, or C, you're just here for funsies. Hello, my name is Rachel, and if you are new here, welcome. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I always put timestamps down below in the description box as well if you want to skip around. And I will link this palette as well as everything that is on my face in both looks, and let's do it. When I first saw her sneak peek this on Instagram, or show it on Instagram, not sneak peek it, I was intrigued. Let's say that, intrigued. I wasn't really like overly excited about this color story. Rachel from the future just popping in really quick. I've just been editing this video, and there are a couple things that I didn't say that I've been thinking about, and sometimes when you're on camera, the thoughts just slip away. So the first thing I wanted to say is I did purchase this myself. I wasn't sent it in PR. The second thing I wanted to say is I've not watched anybody else's video on this collection at all whatsoever. So these are all my own opinions. It's always my own opinion here on this channel, but you know what I'm saying. And most importantly, the thing I wanted to say is I think it's very strange she only released one version of this, especially the fact that she's pulling in bronzers, because in the past with her Glam face palette, she did release 2 different versions, which I think it makes sense because you're adding cheek products. Although I do think blushes, as long as they are a good formula that can build up or sheer out, a blush can be stretched more broadly over different skin tones than a bronzer. And a highlighter, I think, is a little less easy to stretch over different skin tones than a blush. But for sure, my point is the fact that she would offer 2 different versions in a face palette without bronzers, then when the bronzers happen, and I understand there are 3 bronzers here, but I feel like with only 3 bronzers, there are such huge gaps of skin tones that you are not accommodating. Does that make sense? I mean, I think it's very, very strange, especially for a brand like Natasha Denona that is so established. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up. Those are my thoughts on it, but I would love to know your thoughts on this as well. But I was kind of excited in the fact that I do own her Glam face palette, and I really, really like this face palette, the Glam one. I have the one in the colorway Light. I don't know if you could tell, but I've used it a lot. Like, the shadows are beautiful. I like both of the cheek products. So I was intrigued to see what this one was about. Let me read you just kind of a quick summary on her website, what the claims are of this, okay? So this is called the Hyper Natural Face Palette. It is available now on her website as well as Sephora, I believe. Of course, I will link it down below where I can. I do have a code with Natasha Denona. If you shop on her website, you can save 15% off with the code Rachel. But without a code, the price for this palette is $62. It says, the Hyper Natural Face Palette combines the no makeup concept with Natasha's renowned expertise, creating an everyday eye and cheek essential. Infused with hydrating, skin-loving ingredients, this talc-free hybrid face palette showcases 5 eyeshadows, perfect for finger application, an ultra-soft blush duo, and a multifunctional bronze and contour trio. Now, I will say I definitely can see what she's saying about these eyeshadows. They're basically cream shadows. I don't really feel, apart from this one that is like that sparkly topper that she's been doing in her palettes lately, all the rest of these feel like a very different formula than I've ever seen from Natasha Denona. And she is calling it a silky gel powder texture, which is interesting. Like, it's not the cream to powder. It is a gel, like she said, and they are metallic, but they're not wet looking. They're not impactful looking. They're very interesting, like a potted cream shadow. That's kind of the vibe I get, at least just by touching them and swatching them. Of course, haven't used them on my eyes yet. Okay, so first impressions when I received this. This is tiny. This is just a little baby, okay? Again, I have the Glam Face Palette, which In and of itself is a pretty small palette. It's smaller than her midi palettes. Let me see if I can show this appropriately. It is smaller. Like you can see obviously the Glam Face palette behind it bordering it. It's smaller. And it is like when you hold it and open it up, it is small. Now my complaint with that is the cheek products. Like if I wanted to only get into one of these bronzers, the actual strip of color is very small. Okay, for an eyeshadow brush, I don't think I would have a problem. But for the sake of like a bronzer brush, it's gonna be a challenge, okay? And then these are like still pretty small, but it's manageable, definitely compared to these three. I kind of already told you my thoughts on these. I will say these two swatched, these two eyeshadows, they look pretty similar on a swatch. And on the eyes, I'm willing to bet they're gonna look pretty similar, but I'm not gonna judge that too harshly. In the swatches, as you could see, just by swatching, this light blush is very light. Now I would consider myself a light skin tone. I wouldn't go as far to say I'm fair. I would not go as far to say I'm light medium right now in the winter. In the summertime, I do lean more towards light medium. And this blush, I guarantee you, is not gonna show up on me, okay? And I'm a light skin tone, keep that in mind. This one looks like it showed up on me, and I'm wondering combining these two what that's gonna be like. And then these three bronzers, this darkest one looks too dark for me, but I will say, I'm leave in the comments if you've known any creators that have a tan to deep skin tone that are reviewing this palette, because I would be very interested to see if this is gonna work on someone with a tan to deep skin tone, because I'm not so sure, but that I don't know that for sure because I am a light skin tone. The one in the middle actually looks like it would work for me. The lightest one is not gonna show up on me. It's way too light. Okay, that's kind of how I feel about that. And then touching these powders, they are very silky, very silky. So as you can see in the swatches, I went over the swatches quite a few times to build up the pigmentation. I don't know how pigmented they are gonna be as eyeshadows, but of course, again, I'm just giving you my thoughts. I haven't used it yet, so I may be proved wrong. I hope I'm being proved wrong. But I think as cheek products, they're going to be nice because they are that silky texture. They're going to be buildable, I have a feeling, not like overly pigmented. I could be eating my words though. Okay, so we're about to find out. So let's start off with the cheek products first. I'm gonna try to find a very small brush. Yeah, I don't really have many small brushes for bronzer. I usually quite like a larger brush, but this one is from Singe Beauty. This is the F05. It's not huge, it's pretty small. I'm going to try to dip into just the middle shade. Like I said, this is going to be quite difficult, but let's give it a shot. And let me just blend that out on my cheek as a bronzer. Let's see. Okay, now what I wanna do, I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna combine, I was gonna sweep them all together, but I'm gonna hold off on that for a second. I would really love to know your thoughts. As you're watching this video, please let me know your thoughts on this palette. Did you pick it up? Did you pass on it? Please let me know. Okay, so that is the middle shade. As much as I could just get the middle shade. And it's okay. It's not my favorite bronzer ever, but it was workable. It was workable. Again, I don't feel like I was really able to coat my brush properly. I don't know if you can see, I'm just trying to get in the middle here. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna take the Singe F06 brush. This actually is a really good brush for targeted blush application because it is so small. I'm just gonna wipe it off, make sure nothing is on it at the moment. So I'm gonna dip into the deeper blush here first. And let me apply this more towards the back of my cheek. I usually really like Natasha Denona's blush formula, like her powder blush formula, the one that she came out with earlier this year, the My Dream Cheek Glow thing, I love. But I will say this feels way silkier. pretty. Is this my most favorite blush color ever? No. No, I would say it's not. But it's pretty. It's pretty. Okay, I'm gonna take the lighter of the two. I wanna put this more like in the front-ish part of my cheek. Let's see what that looks like. Did that do anything? Five pounds of blush later, here we are. I don't hate a lot of blush, so I'm okay with it. What do you think? What do you think about this? I think it's pretty. I'm more impressed with the blush so far than the bronzer. I wish I had a second one of these to use as my bronzer. I feel like that would fit really nice, but I only have this one from Singe Beauty. Let's go on to the eyes. I have already primed my eyes with the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I want to do something more like rosy, like I want to use the blushes maybe in my crease with this pink. And then tomorrow when I do a second look, I'll do something more brown and neutral. That's my plan. So I'm gonna take a BK Beauty 201, just like a fluffy brush, and I'm gonna go into the deeper blush and the lighter blush. I'm gonna mix them together because I want something more in the middle of these two. And I'm just gonna place that through my crease. Okay, so those are the blushes blended out in my crease. Now I will say I had to go in quite a few times to build it up to this, but I actually think it looks pretty. The thing with me is, especially when I'm gonna use this shimmer all over my lid, I'd like to deepen up the outer corner, but I don't wanna deepen it up with one of the browns. So I'm gonna take a slightly smaller blending brush. This is the Singe EO2. I'm gonna go into just the deeper blush and try to put this on my outer corner. Okay, so I was at least able to carry that darker blush color down onto my outer corner. I'm very hot, hold on. I always think I look so cute wearing a sweater to sit down to film, and then 15 minutes in, I'm sweating. Okay, so I am gonna take this pink shimmer called Soft. It feels very gel-like. It's very smooth. Like there's no sparkle particles to it. Gosh, it's so interesting. I'm not gonna put a glitter primer down like I normally would. I just wanna go straight in onto my lid with my finger. And I can definitely see what she's saying about it being perfect for the finger. I definitely would be willing to bet it would be very difficult to pick these up on a brush. I don't know. I will say that I pick up my shimmers 99% of the time with my finger anyway. But I wonder if this is gonna get hard pan. It kind of already looks like it's going to, but here we are. All right, so that is the shade on my lid. It's very subtle. Very, very, very subtle, which sometimes is fine. Okay, I usually like something a little more exciting than this on the lid, but if you like a very subtle look, maybe it's for you. I want to take the shade Dreamy, which is like that toppery, it's very toppery, like one of these wet effect shades she's been doing lately, and I want to tap this on top. Yeah, see already? That made a big difference. That made a big, giant difference. Added a little bit of sparkle. Beautiful. I'm gonna take that little EO2 from Singe. I'm gonna pick up that first blush shade. I'm just gonna run this on my lower lash line. This is just gonna be experimental, okay? As is this entire video, let's be honest. I'm gonna take a pencil brush and I'm gonna go into the lighter blush. Is this light enough to be an inner corner highlight for me, like a pastel moment? Let's find out. Not really, but we're going with it because it's already been done on one side. I'm cheating a little bit. I'm taking a Blend Bunny palette. I'm gonna go into the matte white and just layer that over. Yeah, way better. Okay, so I'm gonna pop off camera. I'm gonna put on some lashes. I am also going to put on a lip, and I will be back to show you the final look and just give you my initial thoughts after creating this first look. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts. Like I said, please let me know. Okay, so I am back. I did not put lashes on. All right, I decided not to. Honestly, because I'm probably not gonna wear this look very long. And, you know, it's a light, bright look. I don't think it needs lashes. As you know, if you've been here before, I don't have very good lashes to start with. But if you had nice lashes with a little coat of mascara, that would probably go a long way. Okay. And on my lips, I'm wearing the Odenzai and Judy lip gloss in the shade Dahlia. I thought it was just like pink. Like it went with the whole pink look. So let me just give you my initial thoughts. Okay, just my initial thoughts. Like I said, I am going to create another look with the brown tones, and I feel like I might feel a little different with the brown tones. This look is pretty, okay? It is, I don't want to say a no makeup look like what she's saying in her description, because to me, a no makeup look is concealer and some brow gel. But anyway, for some people, this might be no makeup. I don't know. I think it's pretty, but I'm really not a fan of this shimmer on the lid. For me, it's kind of that too subtle to the point where it's like, why even put something on the lid? Like, it's just hardly there. I mean, especially if I didn't put this topper on it. I like something a little bit more. Just a little bit more. It just doesn't read in my preference. It's too subtle. That's kind of the only way I can describe it. And, you know, the blushes worked fine on my eyes, but like, am I gonna reach for blushes to use in my transition area very often? No, not really. And like, am I gonna use this rosy tone with these browns as mattes? No, I'm not. So, do I like how the look came out? Yes, I think it did come out pretty. Is it a look that I'll probably do again? No. That's just my honest thoughts. But if you like this type of look, this is a look that's right up your alley, something that you would do. I think it's fine. Like the blushes, like I said, are very silky and buildable, which is great for the cheeks. And it's great if you like a buildable type of eyeshadow where you really are gonna have to layer it up to get that full pigment, but it's not easy to go overboard, which is good for some people. I like my eyeshadows a little more pigmented. And then I just told you about the shimmers. So it came out good in the end. The shimmer on the lid is not in my preference, but it's cute. It's a cute look. So now I'm gonna send you off to the next look. Play with some of those like brown tones. Sorry about that last clip that you just saw. You probably needed sunglasses to look at me because the light was so freaking bright. I'm still figuring it out in my new setup. Bear with me. So day 2, let's play with the palette. I already have my foundation, concealer, powder, brows done, as you can see. And of course, as always, I have everything linked down below in the description box. So let's go back into the bronzer today. So I have another brush. It's kind of small-ish. What I'm gonna do is, this is very risky, but listen, we're here to take risks. Well, I'm here to take risks, so you don't have to. I kind of want to mix them all together. Well, at least these two, and maybe just a touch of the dark one. Let's see what happens. Let's go in. Yeah, so that dark one definitely, I maybe put a little too much of the dark one on. Let's blend that out. Okay, so I did definitely on this side, I went in a little bit too much with that super dark color because it did get a little bit too dark here, but it's fine. Like, it works. But again, I'm kind of repeating what I said on the first look, which is this my favorite bronzer? No, it's not. And I'll reserve the rest of my thoughts for the end of the video. Okay, let's move on. I have the same brush that I used yesterday, the Singe F06. It's pretty much wiped off clean. Today, I wanna start with the lightest one because I do wanna see what this lightest blush looks like on my skin tone by itself. So I'm just gonna work the lighter of the two on my face. Okay, so it does show up. I was thinking it wasn't going to based on the swatch, but it does show up. And actually, I quite like it. I quite like that light blush. That's quite pretty. That's a like soft pink. It's not too white based, which I kind of thought it was going to be looking at it in the pan. It's pretty. All right, so now we're gonna go on to the eyes. I wanna play with the more brown tones. So I'm gonna incorporate the bronzers onto my eye and maybe dip into some of these darker, I was gonna say metallics, but they're not metallics, gel powders. So I have a very fluffy brush. I'm gonna go into the lightest contour shade and just use this basically as a transition shade in my eye. I have already primed my eyes, but let's go in with this and see what we can do with it. Yeah, I mean, that created a very soft transition shade on my skin tone. I don't really have complaints about it. I'm gonna take that same shade on a smaller brush and just bring it on my lower lash line as well. All right, now I'm gonna go into the middle bronzer shade and just put this a little bit deeper into the crease. And once again, I'm gonna take this and put this on my lower lash line as well. Yeah, these are, like I said yesterday, and what I said from the jump is they're very, very, very softly pigmented because they are bronzers and not really eyeshadows. They're very lightly pigmented, or they're very silky, right? Which is fine. I expected that. And then lastly, I'm gonna go into that deepest bronzer shade and place this in my outer corner. See how deep we can get it. Because especially with quote metallics or whatever, these eyeshadows, they're all pretty darn dark. I mean, at least in the pan. So I definitely want to try to deepen up my outer corner as much as possible. And I'm bringing it down as well onto my lower lash line. Fine. Didn't get super deep, but you know, it's okay. Today I am going to use the NYX glitter primer. I'm just curious, like, if this is gonna make any sort of difference on the look of these other eyeshadows. I'm gonna go in with this shade called Everyday. I'm gonna pick that up on my finger. Same exact feeling as that pink one that I used on my eyes yesterday. And let's put this on the lid and see what it looks like. Okay, that actually looks pretty. Now, I don't know if that's because I put the glitter primer underneath or if it's just that shade in particular, but that is pretty. That I actually really like. It's more of like a smooth, looks more metallic than the one I used yesterday at least. So I'm wondering if it's because I put the NYX glitter primer underneath. It's very possible. But of course, like I said, this is not a review. I will continue using these things. Okay, now I'm gonna take a little tiny brush. Actually, I'm gonna take a pencil brush. I'm gonna take a little tiny pencil brush. I'm gonna go into the shade Statement, which is like the middle dark brown. I'm gonna spray it, and I wanna put this on my lower lash line. Okay, so I'm gonna go off camera. I am gonna put lashes on this time, put some eyeliner on, put a lip on. Then I will come back and show you the final look and give you my second impression thoughts after using the palette. All right, and this is the finished look number 2. What do you think? Well, okay, I will say I definitely prefer this look today than the one I did yesterday. This is just a look that I would wear if I wasn't just testing a palette. Like, this is a look I would wear and I could easily, honestly, easily recreate with eyeshadows that I already have and a look that I have worn several times, something similar, okay? All right, so let me give you my thoughts. My thoughts are, I have a lot of thoughts, so bear with me here. This definitely is not a palette that if I was not a YouTuber and I was able to watch people's reviews, I would not have purchased this because this just is not my vibe. It is not a palette for me, for what I like. They describe a no makeup look, which I'm not a no makeup person. Like I'm either all out or I'm not wearing makeup. It's very rare that I'm wearing no makeup. So already for me, it's not for me. I'm not the customer, but I wanted to buy it to review it and test it out for you. That's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm here. So the cheek products, although they are beautifully formulated, like I can tell the formulation is very high quality. It's super silky, super smooth, very easy to build up and blend. They're not chalky, they're not powdery, they're not hard to use, but I do not like the fact that these three bronzers, the pan sizes are so small. For me, in the sizes of brushes that I like to use, I'm never gonna be able to get like a really nice coating on my brush of just this middle shade, which is the shade that I prefer of the three. I don't want to mix all three together. I don't even want to mix two together. So for me, this bronzer situation is not ideal. And especially when it comes to bronzer, if I have to be extra careful and extra cautious about how I'm using it, I'm just not going to reach for it, especially because I have so many amazing, foolproof, beautiful bronzers in my collection. I don't want to work that hard to get the bronzer that I like. I hope that makes sense. Now as eyeshadows, actually, I think they're pretty. I don't think that this goes very deep enough for me and what I like to have the option of deepening up my eye looks with, but I think for this type of look, it worked out nice. Like it worked out nice. For the blushes, I think these are pretty, but you know, I have so many pink blushes from Natasha Denona. I wish that maybe one was pink and one was more like warm or more brown based. I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot of pink blushes all the time from her. And I like pink blush, but I also would like to have an option of a different kind of undertone or something if I have a travel palette. The eyeshadows, when I do my eye looks, I definitely like to pull in matte shadows. And although we have these up here that you can use in the eyes, I definitely wish that one of these three browns, at least one of these three browns, maybe even two of them, or maybe this pink wasn't there, I wish they were matte eyeshadows. And the good news is, and I didn't mention this, you can pop the eyeshadows and the cheek products out. So I probably will see myself popping out a couple of these shadows and putting in a couple of matte shadows. That's just how I like to do my makeup. I do think this toppery shade is really pretty, although I do have the I Need a Nude palette, and I feel like there are 3 shades in that palette that are very similar to this. So did I necessarily need it? No. And then I kind of already explained the formula of these other shadows where they're pretty. I think if you like a very subtle, very smooth, not ultra shiny metallic, you might like this. But for me, it's not my favorite formula. I like something a little bit, and I like a traditional metallic. I don't need to be wearing a multi-chrome on my eyes every day, but I want something that's a little shinier, a little easier to put on the lid. Like I really have to layer this to get like a full coat on my lid. It's so thin and so gel-like. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm gonna continue using this, testing it out in different ways, but I will tell you right off the bat, this is not my favorite Natasha Denona palette. It could be for someone else. It's just maybe not in my preference. So I hope this helped you out in any sort of way. Let me know down below in the comments after seeing this video or other creators that you may have watched. Let me know your thoughts on it and let me know if you personally picked it up and have tried it and what your thoughts are. Also, let me know if you skipped on this. Please let me know down in the comments because I love hearing from you. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly and I'd love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye.